chart, but I don't have his analysis.
Oh, these
he's
are
got
Geoff's.
oh, there you go. Yeah.
How are we going? Is this looking like Geoff Pine's 4-hourly chart?
It certainly does.
This is good. Thank you for that. I was chatting away on my oil chart, but yeah. So I'll just pull up the monthly chart that he's provided, which is that downward trend. And you've probably, I mean, you work with him, Ash. You know, this see how it's going. He's loved this huge breakdown from, when was that? March. That looks like March, April. Bullish engulfing candle. We've had a really strong run up. The downward trend's been broken. It's been a retest. He likes this really strong level of 70 odd cents. And like I said, here he is looking for, we closed above at 71.33, broken, higher high, higher low, second higher high, higher low, and he's looking for that to continue.
And it's interesting, isn't it? Because it's another one of those that is election dependent. Because you'd imagine if Trump gets in, the Aussie may well continue to move to the upside. But Biden, if he does squeeze the indices somewhat, then the Aussie may well weaken a little bit. And also, I'll tell you what was quite interesting. I didn't hear your oil analysis, but the other thing that, you know, I was looking for shorts in oil. I missed it. I was so annoyed with myself on Friday. I took my eyes off the screen and I missed a short in oil. But Biden could be really bad for oil as well. And you know, I suspect that might well affect some of these commodity-based currencies. So the likes of the CAD and the Aussie, I might well be looking for some weakness if Biden gets in, and the adverse of that if Trump does.
Yeah, well, as Shukra gave us three outcomes of next week, and one was Biden gets in, or Trump gets in, or Trump loses and causes a problem.
Yeah, yeah, I hadn't considered that one actually, but yeah, that's a fair point actually, Shukri. He's not a man that goes down without a fight, is he?
No, option 3. Well, obviously you all got it wrong. You meant to vote for me. You meant to vote me back in. You just need to go back and think about it. So yeah, you can sort of see that going. But yeah, with oil, the problem with I wouldn't say the problem, but the outlook for oil with Biden's policy is that he wants oil to fossil fuels, oil, coal, all of that to be gone. He wants renewables to be more engaged. So he is looking at trying to phase that out, which is really interesting because that oil industry lobby is very powerful. You thought the rifle guys had a little bit of power? Well, sorry, their pockets are way deeper in their 10-gallon drums, 10-gallon hats, 10-gallon. So they're really, really powerful. And with oil and Biden, that's an interesting scenario and how that would be addressed. The other thing is, you just need to be really bloom and practical with the fact that, I mean, that's a longer term scenario. But what with oil is that you got Europe shutting down. I mean, China is back on its feet, and the results out of China this last week gone they've been great. I wouldn't say the but they do show a strengthening of the economy. Unfortunately, we were just saying earlier, Ash, before you joined us, it was overshadowed with what's coming up with the US election and that's sort of taken a back seat, except for the fact that it helps the Australian dollar in that regard.
And this is one of the reasons that I'm struggling to be anything but bullish on equities, because the numbers are not collapsing. You know, even though we're kind of going through this this terrible situation, as you quite rightly point out, China's still growing, and the United States isn't in any particular trouble, and nor's the UK. I mean, the UK didn't have great numbers last week, but they weren't under 50. You know, which is always our gauge, isn't it, of growth? You know, so things aren't too bad, and it's surprising, but the numbers don't lie, and it's very, very difficult to go against them. So for that reason alone, taking away the election, for that reason alone, I can't help being relatively bullish on equities and potentially the Aussie because of it, I suppose. But obviously the election does change things. Brexit changes things, so there will be some speculation of people positioning themselves for a bit further down the line, 3 to 6 months out. but things aren't that bad. You know, I haven't seen anything really hideous. Jobs numbers aren't great, but the stock market
That's to
doesn't
be
really
expected.
care about job. Yeah, I mean, you know, what was that report recently about the robotics taking most people's jobs in the next 10 years? Are people that, you know, will the stock market care about people's jobs if they're going to be replaced by robots anyway?
I think it comes down also to you know, retail and consumer
Yes,
spending and
very
those other
true.
little things that sort of like tick the economy along.
Yeah,
We
very
do
true.
need those kind of things happen. But you know, it becomes what evolves, how we
Yeah,
evolve as you know, a global economy, and we can't just say we're like we were back in the 70s. We're all just paddling our own canoe and hoping for the best.
yeah.
It is a global economy, and we're all part of that community. But yeah, what you're saying is robotics might be, but there's a small little thing called, you know, consumer spending and keeping businesses alive and all the rest of it. So
Yeah, you make a good
yeah,
point.
and it was interesting. It is interesting that, you know, we saw one of the two things, that have boosted China's exports this last quarter were the rising global demand for medical equipment and work from home technology.
Yeah.
So not necessarily robotics manufacturing in that regard. It's people working from home and still adapting to, hey, they're still working, still need that human touch.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
yeah, which is interesting. But the other chart that let me just see. Let's pull up this next one. Okay, this is Geoff's EURCAD.
Beyond my pay
Any
grade.
comments on that one, Ash? Was he talking about that?
Beyond my pay grade. EURCAD, you know, the thing is, yeah, I kind of understand the euro, but that's obviously kind of like caught up in Brexit. The CAD is caught up in the oil scenario. So, you know, it's what that would be sort of danger versus danger to me. It's just like, which way do you go? Do you go with a Biden win probably weakens? Yeah. I mean, it's one of those things you sort of, let's say a Biden win is probably going to weaken.
On that one.
Yeah, but Biden win's probably going to weaken the CAD. A deal with Brexit is probably going to weaken the euro. So I don't know which way you go. I mean, this is probably the one of the better ones for actually expressing which way you think two separate elections are going to go. You know, and that for that reason, it makes it very, very difficult for me to make any kind of comment on this. Yeah, Sweet's saying that the Geoff's been stalking the EURCAD, sure, and I think he has. He likes this one, but personally, that would give me too many sweats at night.
He has been stalking,
going into. I couldn't trade it.
Yeah, look, he is looking at it from. I understand he's looking at it as going, I've got a double top here, and then I've got my lower low, my lower high, and my, you know. That's only just a lower low, by the way. It's almost a double bottom. And you know, if you look at that going straight across from here to here, and you know, I like to put neat horizontal lines on things rather than arbitrary trend lines. But I mean, that one speaks for itself. So he's looking at, you know, he's looking for that lower high to come back up and have a false breakout, retest the trend line, and then in his sell zone is here. That's what he's looking for. Now, whether it happens, you know, he's not saying jump on board and sell tomorrow. He's saying this is what he's looking for as a setup. The false breakout, coming back in, a retest of the trend line, and then he's looking for it to go short as well. But as he said, the fundamentals are just so hairy. Would certainly make your armpits sweat. That's for sure. So yeah, that's an alternative. And his last one is.
I'll be picking him up on all these tomorrow.
I'm sure he can't wait, Ash. I'm sure he can't wait. But I'm thinking here we've got a tribute to you here. We've got a potential right shoulder if that's what happens with an inverse head and shoulders. You might be off on him.
Do you know, funny enough, as soon as you brought that one up, I was like, yeah, that one speaks to me. What's that one?
That's Kiwi yen.
Kiwi yen. Okay.
New Zealand.
Again, yeah.
Yeah, New Zealand yen. So he's looking for it to come back down here to a obviously very strong level of support. You know, it is here at the moment and is really stalling.
Yeah.
But for it to be better set up, he's going to be looking for something to come back under that trend line. It's 3 false breakouts. It's but whether that actually continues from there up, because we've hit another level of support just in here at that juncture where it was at the beginning, end of last week.
Yeah, to be honest, I mean the yen. I'd have very little confidence in the yen strengthening too much. So if that did come back down there, that does look like a good opportunity to me.
You know, it was funny. I was watching dollar yen the other day, and I looked at it in the morning, and it was 10. What was it? I can't remember. 105.64. And I came back about 10 hours later and it was 105.64. Like it hadn't gone anywhere.
Yeah.
It is still in that range.
I don't see, and this is I always think about, which do you go to when you look at the protection, when you buy protection, and I would have thought the Swissy would be better, on the whole. The yen, the Japanese economy is just, I don't really get it. I know the philosophy of the yen being the safe haven, and I know why it's the safe haven. But the numbers are they're a horror show, for Japan.
The Japanese economy is actually a basket case, and I think if you've listened to Julian long enough, he this is one of his hobby horses. Is he doesn't get why the dollar, why the yen is such a safe haven. Because he said their economy is a basket case. They are not doing well, as he said. The numbers just don't speak. But I think it's one of those things. It's just been, it's always been like the Swissy is a safe haven. Yet dollar yen is a safe haven, and that's what and we're tied to the US dollar, and we're tied to the China's economy, and it as it goes, and dollar CAD's tied to oil and all that kind of stuff. So I think it's just precedence rather than anything else.
Yeah, I agree. And it's one of those things that the market has a memory, and it seems to remember right, safe haven, let's go to the dollar yen. But it's like, well, that actually doesn't make any fundamental sense at all, apart from that. So I'd always go to the Swissy personally. I think the Swissy is just a much more solid currency. If I was buying protection, I'd be much more inclined to go to the Swissy than the yen, and I think they both are quite good at that function. So yeah, if it came down, I would concur with Geoff's move here. I'd be looking for upside against the yen as well if it was on that right shoulder.
Yeah, and like I said, I mean he's looking for scenarios to play out this week. He's not saying jump in on Monday morning. And this is a long or a short. He's just saying this is what he's looking at. He can see these technical setups happening, and that's his level of support, and he's just waiting. Okay, so Geoff, in his absence, I hope his charts justice there, and to say wait, and wait on EURCAD, as we know he's been stalking that for a while. And the situation with it would just here with Kiwi yen, waiting for the scenario. He is a bull on Aussie dollar, and we'll just see how it all plays out. It's going to be a really interesting week, but got a lot to come, to get through for the end of the week. So, as you said, be really careful with position sizing and small positions, and take a position before. And if you think you're going to trade the news is things are happening just so quickly. Yeah, you're not going to jump in. It's going to be difficult if you hear the news or you look at something. It's going to be really hard to trade and be filled when you thought you were going to be filled as well.
Yeah. So I think you're right. I think timing this market is probably going to be harder than most times.
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at my gold and my oil charts, and I'm just like, oh, look at, probably have more fun stabbing my left hand with a blunt fork at the moment as far as
do you know,
gold trading.
Totally agree. Totally agree. Do you know, I would really like to get gold and silver in my portfolio, but I can't justify it. I continue to not be able to justify it. And the concern is that this is it. This is as far as we come down. But I'm hoping we do drift down with gold and silver just a bit lower, so I can pick up a good price.
I'll put it out there for you, Ash. So Ash can get a good price. We'd like you to bound down to 1700. I'll see what I can do with the gold gods.
Maybe you can sell some of yours. Maybe put some of yours in the market. That might help us.
But yeah, it is so sensitive to the election, and high correlation between 10-year treasury bonds as well, US treasury bonds. So we're just coming into that. I just want this next week out of the way, so we can get a result and know, get a bit of direction as well. So that would be good. But I think that's it. But thank you, thanks for joining us, Ash, and thanks for your help here with the charts in Geoff's absence, and
Ainslie
and Shukri's.
On
Shukri on the cryptos, Alexis on fundamentals, and thank you, Lloyd, on the currency indices. That's been really good. I hope everybody's got something out of it this week, and look forward to you joining us same times next week. It is the same
Fantastic.
time.
Well done, Ainslie. You've done a grand job.
Big shoes to fill.
You're a bit prettier than Paul.
Thanks, I'll take that one and I'll put that on my resume. Yeah, good one. Okay, everybody, thank you very much for joining us. I hope you've had a great time, and we'll see you next week. Bye for now.